about his production in the first week and a half, almost 2 weeks of camp?
Well, he's a whole different guy than he was a year ago at this time, because now he's in, it's his second year here. I mean, he knows what to expect. He knows what to do. He's improved in the off season, and it's the mental part of things. I mean, to be able to consistently perform well at that position is hard to do, and you gotta continue to fight through it and build confidence and do well. So you kind of get on a downhill roll that's good, a very positive roll. Whether if you hit something that you hit a ball that's not very good, or you miss one, and you start to get, you get down the tank a little bit. To be able to do really well. I mean, he had, I said this to somebody last week, in pre-practice, he had like 8 field goals in a row of 54 yards. I mean, just drilled them. And we have one play during the team period, and he tried to aim it, tried to make sure it went good, didn't hit it right, and just blunked. Like the spring game. In the scrimmages in the spring, he was 11 for 11. He has one kick in the spring game, and it was probably his worst kick of the entire spring. So he's got to be able to take what he did positively and continue to grow it. And like he had 2 kickoffs in the scrimmage last Tuesday that were awesome. I mean, awesome.
Were they long distance? Were they short? Were they just sort of, really?
They were 6 yards deep with about 4.2 hang time. So that's about as good as you're going to get. So yeah. Yeah. Now 6 yards deep is, some guys do that, but there's no hang time. You can return those things. So we like it when people put the ball in the end zone. That's not very. It's a flat kick. And he had 2 kicks and they were shot out of a cannon. So he understands how to do it. He's not starting hard. He played as a true freshman last year. That's hard to do. At any position. So.
And he looks like he's going to have to be the guy to do everything on special teams when kicking the ball. Place kicking, PATs. It seems like he's going to have to shoulder a lot of weight this season. Do you feel like he's ready for that?
Yeah, I have no doubt that he could do that. I mean, he's right now is our kickoff guy and our field goal guy, and he did that at the end of the season last year. The last 4 games, he kicked off all season long, and then the last 4 games in the bowl game, he kicked field goals. I don't see any problem. The only problem you're worried about is guys after a period of time they're wearing themselves down. Like you hear players talk about having dead legs, or basketball players having dead legs, or our guys now at the end of 2 weeks of camp they have dead legs. That's what you worry about. You're trying to monitor the amount of kicks that they have during the season, because I always say kicking a kickoff, if you're going to really kick a kickoff, it's like throwing the ball as far as you possibly can. And if you do that 8, 10, 12 times a game like we do, because we score so much in recent years, that takes a lot out of a guy. And then you got to practice that. So that takes a lot out of a guy. I mean, our Marcus isn't throwing the ball as hard as he possibly can every throw in practice. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So, try to monitor how many kicks he takes. But I have no question he can do this.
Who is there behind him that might be able to step up? Should something happen to Matt and he's not available at any point in the game for whatever reason?
Well, Aiden Schneider's a new player here. It's a true freshman that's done really well. He's only played football. He's only kicked ball for a year. He was a soccer player, and he only did it 1 year in high school. And so he's learning like you're teaching a kid in a high school camp how to do it for the first time. And he's got a very strong leg, and he's made tremendous progress in 2 weeks. And he's done it. He kicked off today in our kickoff return period and did a really good job. So he's not at Matt's level, but he's a guy right now that will probably be our number 2 guy.
Coach, in the return game, kick, punt, return, how many candidates are you working with right now that you'd like to be in that kick return game?
You're talking about the actual returners?
The returners, yeah.
Well, we have about 6 punt returners we're working with right now, and I like the athletic ability of all 6 guys. It's a matter of who feels the ball best, who makes the best decisions, who can secure the ball. There's a lot to it. And we really like those 6 guys, and we probably have those 6, probably a couple other guys, maybe 10 guys are working with kick. You play 2 kick returners at a time, so we're probably about 10 of those guys, maybe 12 you count some of those freshmen. So we spend as much time working with guys who are going to block for them than who's catching it and running with it. I mean, that's important, but those guys aren't doing anything without those 10 guys blocking for them. So those returners done a good job. They got some reps in the scrimmage on Tuesday, which was great for those guys, some good, some bad. But that's what you're scrimmage for. That's what you're going to practice for. And some of those guys did a great job. I mean, some of those guys blocking for the young guys did a fantastic job for us on Tuesday.
One of the guys I want to ask you about is Johnny Lloyd. He seems like he's got that basketball speed and the ability to make people miss. Is he a guy that has a chance to be a return guy?
He does. He does. And he's hasn't played football in 5 years. Now, I will say he is a completely different guy than he was last spring. I mean, he is a different guy. You look in his eyes, it's different. His tempo is different. His whole demeanor is different. He's a completely different guy. But he's one of 6 guys back there battling to be the guy, and those other 5 guys are pretty good. So He's going to help us. That kid's going to help us. I mean, he's going to help us as a receiver. He's going to help us in the return game, and he's kind of a slippery guy because he doesn't look like the fastest guy. He doesn't look like the quickest guy, but he's hard to tackle. I mean, he made a really nice punt return in the scrimmage on Tuesday. He did a great job. So we're excited about his progress.
Kind of a badge of honor to be on that special teams. Not one of the guys catching the ball, but blocking it. Do you want your best guys? I look at some of the first stringers on offense and defense, and they're playing a lot of snaps. Do you still want your best guys on return teams and special teams?
Well, I always answer that question. We're trying to win games. We're trying to win games. So if our best guy's a walk-on or a starter on defense or offense or a redshirt freshman or a backup player, we're trying to mix and match those guys. And people don't realize most teams, every team in our conference plays starters on defense and offense on all their special teams. And if you start on defense at SC in the past with Pete Carroll, you start on 2 special teams. That's how it is. That's the law. We will play those guys. We're going to mix and match. If a guy, EFO's not going to play 85 plays on defense and cover every punt, cover every kickoff, play on kickoff return and play on punt, it's not going to happen. He might cover 2 punts. He might play on 2 punt returns and cover 2 kickoffs, and that's it. Then we're going to take him out of there. When Deion Jordan was here when he was playing on defense, he'd cover 2 kickoffs a game, maybe a third if there was a huge time between. Maybe he covered one at the end of the first quarter and maybe late in the fourth quarter if we needed it when the game was on the line, if he felt fresh. We're not going to overuse those guys on special teams so they can't help us on offense, defense. The goal is to win the game, but we're going to play our best guys. And if our best guy's a walk-on, he's going to play. If he's a freshman, he's going to play. And we've got some guys that are doing a fantastic job for us right now that are young guys that have bought in the importance of special teams, has a chance to help us try to gain an edge, to try to help us, gives a chance to win the game. Make a play, cover the ball well, punt cover, kickoff cover, return game, we're going to mix and match them, how much they play in the game.
Question about Matt. Obviously, kicking is so mental. Is there anything you do exercise-wise to maybe give him a mental edge for when he does get in a game, in a big situation? Or obviously, you said had a great spring practice and then struggled with that kick in the spring game.
Well, they do a lot of visualization. You do a lot of, muscle memory type things that get them in the frame of mind. They're okay. I've been there. I've done this 1,000 times. This is my picture in my mind of how this feels beautiful. I hit that sweet spot. It feels great. You're always trying to build up, but again, they have to build that confidence up in practice. But I said, they only get to play 1 or 2 plays a game. So you can be as awesome out there on the practice field. If a guy doesn't hit one in the game, all of a sudden they start dropping their heads. Here come the boos. Everybody's upset. They have to try to maintain that mental toughness, and so we're always trying to do things from a visualization standpoint with those guys, in addition to their kicking that they get they practice during the week to try to help those guys.
Final question for me: the guy that never gets talked about unless he has a bad snap. That's a long snapper. You got a new guy back there this year, or do you have a couple of guys you're working?
Well, if you don't know who they are, that's a good thing. A guy can play. I used to tell Drew Howell all the time, you can play for 4 years and you never get interviewed. That means it's good. It's like I always joke with the guys. The only time they want to talk about special is something bad happened. Something blows up in the locker room. Hey, Oz, you want to talk to you? I know something blew up with us. We have a couple new guys. Tanner Carew is a freshman, and Devin Melendez. Those 2 guys are true freshmen that have been doing a great job for us in camp. They're still freshmen, so got a ways to go. But we got 2 weeks to practice till our first game. And those guys have been handling the majority of the punt snaps, and Aronis Grasu also helps with the short snaps on field goals, in addition to those guys. But Tanner's been taking most reps with the ones, and they've done a really good job. Really good job. But I hope you never ever ask about those guys for 4 years.
Last question. That was it. Number again. That's all I got.